Hi, welcome to Tea Time with Amie and Bev.
Good morning.
Woo! Excited to be here.
Yes.
So much is going on. How are you?
I'm really good. I'm actually feeling really good today.
Awesome.
We have good days and bad days, but I'm having some good days.
Those are labels. They're just days.
They are. But I have good moments, and those are labels too.
It's just a moment. It's
It
about our
is.
perception.
I'm present more often. How about that?
There you go. For sure. How so far has the new year been for you? We are recording on the 13th of January, 2021.
It's been good. I mean, you and I talked about numerology and stuff like that, and I'm in a 7 year, so I'm more of an introspection and a lot of that stuff. And I feel like I'm just flowing a little bit more from within myself because I'm even asking, like, okay, God and angels, I want to put out this message because I have something in my heart that I want to share, but I want to put out this message that's most understandable for people. So it's like this is helping me practice this. I'm going within. I'm learning to trust the intuition that I'm receiving. I'm stepping into more of a confidence place that I'm not afraid to say the things that I'm saying, but I can hear the intuition. It's more of these promptings that are happening. So for me, it's been really good. But like I said, I'm in a self going inside year. I mean, it's really, and then looking, anything that triggers me, I'm looking at it. Why does it trigger me? How can I get past that? What am I afraid of? So many questions that I'm asking myself, and we find the answers. And sometimes you may not. For me, sometimes you don't find the answers so much because the answers come to you. It's not finding it.
It's more like being revealed. The answers are
It
revealed.
is. It is. It is. And you just find a peace. You know what I mean? Not find a peace. The peace just comes to you. When I put these questions out, it's like something will happen, and it's something. It's so grace and ease is what comes to mind because it just happens with such grace and ease that it's easy. It's easy to see a lot of this stuff, but are you willing to see this stuff? And that's the thing. So many years, I was so defensive about things. And something else, man, my third eye has been itching for months and months and months, and it's
You're
like
like,
in my face again.
"Ah."
Yeah, it's there's nothing there, but it's like it's there's a lot of activity going on there, I guess. So it's to me, it's exciting because
Good.
I could look at this like, oh God, oh something's happening, but no. But for me, I feel excited. We talked about at the end of last year before we came into this new year that I felt excitement. There's so much going on, but I have excitement about it.
And it comes down to perception.
It
We
does.
we express our excitement about things, about the changes, about things being torn down to a foundational basis to be rebuilt. Like these are exciting things. We're in the Aquarian age, which is the time for this. Um, and then there are other people that are panicking and other people that are angry. So it's about a perception. Um, and you have to me, it's a matter of coming from a space of your heart center. Your heart center, your spirit will tell you to trust the process. Your heart center, your spirit will tell you to be in the space of love and ease and grace, flow. But the fear, the ego side, um, tells us to do otherwise. And as we talk about every single week, is how does your body feel? Because the fear is where the stress comes from.
Yeah.
The spirit says, or love tells you, okay, well, we need to do some preparation. We need to be aware of what's happening, just of ease. The ego says, go buy all the damn toilet paper, um, you know, get your guns loaded, have enough ammunition, stay in, watch the news every day and stay in the drama of it. And it's just, you feel the difference in your body.
So when you're saying we feel the difference, because I want to clarify, when we feel the difference, when we're in the flow, it's not a panicky feeling. It's not an urgency. It's not a rush, right? I mean, that's how you feel it as well. It's a, if we're going to pay attention to, if we're talking about even politics, if we're paying attention to energy of someone giving a conversation or even looking at their picture or anything like that, really paying attention, how do you feel? Because it's not right for me. It's not an urgency. It's not a panicky feeling. It's not any of those things because our soul, you know, everything is it's the journey. It's a slow, it's paying attention to what you need to pay attention to, but using your body like our body is our tool. It's our antenna. That's what I've been told many times. It's an antenna receiving all these signals. And it's like, are you muting that signal by your beliefs? Or are you allowing that signal to come through to what and letting yourself feel it? Because like you said, we talk about the feeling of everything all the time. So it's like clarifying, how does that feel? It feels, for me, it feels like an open flow. It doesn't feel constricted, restrained, angry. It doesn't feel any of those things. It's just a flow. How would you describe that?
I can tell, well, my body's the indicator. And so when I'm in a space of flow, my body's relaxed. My
Yes.
mental faculties are clear. Planning is easy,
Yes.
right? I'm not well, on the flip side of that, if I'm in that space of stress, everybody knows what stress feels like in their body. And for
Yes.
each person, it's maybe shows up a little different. For me, it's in my neck and shoulders. Soon as I get any stress in my neck and shoulders, I'm like, okay, what am I giving my attention to? How am I must be giving it my attention in such a way that's creating some kind of a fear-based sensation. And how can I release this and see it differently? And I will bring myself into the affirming to trust the process. And that's what I have to tell myself: trust the process. Is this something that I can control? A lot of times the answer is no. What I'm looking at and perceiving as a fear-based experience, is this something, can I control the other person or people? No. Can I control what they say? No. Can I control who they're talking to? No. What can I control? Me. And right now I am, if I was in that space, I'd be okay. Well, I'm feeling the stress. I'm feeling the tension. How can I just bring myself into the present moment and really just look at what you're looking at? The walls, the color of the walls, the floor, the knickknacks, right? Just bring yourself present to where you are and breathe. You can always bring yourself back to your breath and just breathe and recognize that whatever you're thinking about or giving attention to, your body is going to respond accordingly. And so if I'm sitting here in this room that I'm in, I mean, you can see this beautiful Afghan here. This is created by my grandmother. I have some decor. I have my books and CDs, and I could be sitting here focused on what I heard about the news yesterday or the day before and the drama of it and getting all stressed out about it. But that's not happening. I'm not even listening to it right now. And it's not happening in this space. But because I'm giving my attention to it through my thought process and my emotions, my body is going to respond with the stress, with the tension. And the opposite is true. If I'm sitting here and I'm meditating or I'm focused on an affirmation or a prayer or whatever, listening to some fun music, upbeat music, then I could be very easily relaxed in the same space. So it's about what I'm perceiving and what I'm giving my attention to, what I'm thinking about. Did that answer your question?
It does. And then also paying attention to when you're, like you're saying, because a lot of times I feel like a lot of, let's just use news sources. Some of them, they want that hype. They want that to get you upbeat. So paying attention to your feelings, how it's coming through, feeling that, because most of us don't pay attention to how anything feels for ourselves. And recognizing if it doesn't feel good, you don't have to utilize that as your source. There's other sources that you can find to find that what feels better. And I think, last year it was a coming together, right? People to come together and stuff. And I think that a lot of this stuff had to be exposed. A lot of things have to be exposed for us to realize there is a separation, so we can come together. And it's like this year, it's like it's even more like you're recognizing there's people that are going with the flow. There's people that are angry. Because people are afraid, because when it boils down to, right, anger and the fear stuff, it all just comes right back down to fear anyways. It comes down to fear and like, what are you afraid of? But it's also recognizing, is that my feelings that I'm feeling, or am I picking up on that other person's feelings? Because it might be that panicky person that's telling you this information that you've now dove into their energy, and you're like intent in hearing everything they've got to say. And now you're right there. You're feeling everything that person's feeling. So being aware of that stuff. It's not right or wrong, but it's just being aware. It's helping you utilize your antenna better.
Our spiritual antenna. I like that.
Antenna was from Freeman. He's the one that's told me, he would refer to that as that's basically what our bodies are. It's an antenna, and it is.
And again, what you put your attention on grows. And so if you're focused in that drama and that tension, and it could be a relationship, it could be your finances, it could be your career. I mean, we're using the politics and news right now because that's very in our face. But it could be any area of your life that you're creating what you're thinking about. And what is in your reality right now is what you've been thinking about over a period of time and has come to fruition. And you have, for things to change, you have to change. You as an individual have to change. You have to change your thought process, your emotions, your visualization, what you're talking about. Because when you speak the words, it amplifies whatever you're focusing on. Because if I'm all balled up about the news and politics and everything, and just like Bev said, if I bring that energy to her and she's giving me her attention and she's getting all drawn into it, now I have her all stressed out and balled up, and then she's going to go talk to somebody. And so we're creating more and more and more of that uncomfortable sensations in our body by keeping the conversations alive, because we keep amplifying the energy of it.
Yeah.
So what if you said, or if I said, oh my gosh, Bev, I had the most amazing meditation. It was so beautiful. My body was so relaxed, and I felt so calm and peaceful. And then the rest of my day was just so full of blessings, and I received this, and this person called me, and I had these great conversations. And she's going to be in that energy, and then she's going to go, oh my gosh, that was so amazing. I want to experience that. And so she gives her attention and time and energy to that, and she experiences, and then she goes and talks to somebody, and now we've created that type of energy flow with other people. So we get to choose. That's part of us being human, choosing. And most of the time, if you are unaware of your thoughts, your emotions, your behaviors, your actions, your patterns, your habits, then you're all just operating on an automatic pilot. Mm-hmm. You're saying, I'm going to just push this button. My subconscious mind has taken over, and it has for all of these years, has taken over. You're on automatic pilot. So if one person looks at you cross-eyed, bam, you're triggered because your brother used to look at you like that all the time. Or somebody uses a certain tone of voice, bam, you're triggered because your dad used to talk to you like that, And so you're just reaffirming how much you are not good enough. That's the story. I'm not good enough. I'm not good enough. I'm not good enough. And so all these experiences are proving that or confirming that to be true. It's because you're on automatic pilot. And you are not taking responsibility or control or your own power into what you're thinking about, how you're feeling, your actions, your words, your behaviors, your habits. Like, you're just saying, I'm willy-nilly and I'm just going to bump through life until I die. And in the meantime, you're stressed out, you're angry, you're critical, you're judgmental, and that, to me, that's not fun. I used to be all of that, and it's not fun. I did not like being with me. I really didn't. I looked in the mirror one day, I'm like, I don't like myself. Why would anybody else like me? I'm being a complete bitch. Why would anybody want to be around me? And it was like one of those moments where it's like, I got to do something. I have to do something different. Well, I was a bitch because that guy was an asshole to me. Like attracts like, my friends, like attracts like. And so if you want a different point of attraction of the type of people you're around or the type of experiences you have, then you have to change, not everybody else.
That's right.
Because when you change, then your circle of people changes, your experiences change. And one of the things that I hear so often is, well, it's so hard. Okay. It's persistence. It's diligence. It's awareness. It's practice. You've been on auto. The reason why it seems hard is because you've been on autopilot based on what you learned from your upbringing as a child. That's your autopilot. That's the easy. And if everything was easy, everybody would be doing it. But if you want something new, then there's something you have to change within yourself. It's not expecting everybody else to change, because then you're giving your point of power to everybody else. Well, I can't be and do better until this person stops being an asshole. Well, no, one of the changes is don't be around them.
That's right.
Okay. But if you're still in that vibration of, I only attract assholes, then that's what you're going to keep getting. And then you're like, this is so hard. I still keep, well, it's, what are you thinking? What are you feeling? How are you speaking? What are your habits? What are your behaviors? Are you still being a bitch? Because if you are, you're going to attract the assholes. I mean, it's perpetual until, the merry-go-round, you stay on it and you just get dizzy and sick. And if it's at the same speed where you can hang on, you're okay, right? You're just going to stay on there. But boy, holy hell, it just mess with your brain, right? But if it speeds up and you get flung off the merry-go-round, then you're going to go, oh my gosh, that really got my attention. I didn't like how that turned out. That really sucked. I got hurt. I bumped my head, whatever the case may be. And then you're like, well, I don't really like that, so I'm not going to do it anymore. Stop getting on the damn merry-go-round that's going too fast.
Yeah. Because everything you were saying was all energy. What you think about, how you're feeling, like what you're saying, all of it's energy. And it's like, think about that. We have so many different ways that we're putting out this energy of things that we want or don't want. But either way, whether you want it or don't want it, you're putting energy to it. You're advertising for it. You're saying, bring me more of this. So you keep yourself on that until you decide to start. And it's being responsible for yourself and your thoughts. It's not, man, I lived my whole life. I was it was always, well, he did this. I was always justifying. I was always defending myself. And I know that comes from childhood, but I had to wait till I was 50. Probably it was before that, but we're going to use 50 as the example. I could have looked at this a lot sooner, but I didn't want to look at myself. Because like you said, you didn't like yourself. Well, I didn't like myself. Why would I want to look at myself? And for me, I was like outwardly trying to work on my physical to make myself like myself more, or whatever, looking for the outside sources to uplift me when it was never anybody else's responsibility. It was always mine. Trying to find a better way to be able to look at myself. Really, that's what it boiled down to. It had nothing to do with anybody else. I couldn't stand me. I couldn't. So it's like when you can't stand yourself, you're just no good for any relationships. You're not. And you hear that crap all the time. And I call it crap because when you're in that space, it feels like crap. It's like, whatever. That's the stupidest thing I ever heard. But where I'm at right now, I can sit back and see those things. I realize so much. I mean, I say so much, but that puts limits on things. I'm realizing whatever is being brought to me. in that moment. And but at that time, at that same moment that I'm realizing it, I'm like experiencing it, seeing it, and I don't have to carry it anymore. It doesn't have to be in my subconscious anymore. I don't have to go onto autopilot. I like to feel things, and I think autopilot's just another way of ignoring a lot of stuff that's going on. I don't know if we talked about it, but it's like recently someone says, "Oh my gosh," when someone passes close to you, just really put yourself into work and everything like that. And it's like, to me, from where I'm at right now, maybe before I would have said, yeah, that's exactly what I would have done. But for me now, I would be like, no, I want to feel these things. I want to work through these things. I want to see what these things are. I don't want to ignore it. I don't want to stuff it. I want to experience it. I had been stuffing my whole life. So now it's like experiencing it. Yeah, some of it's pretty shitty, but most of the stuff that I would say was shitty was my own regrets. It was my own feelings, my crying and stuff like that. And I'm not, in my grieving, a lot of it was I was grieving because I lost control. Like, this person's no longer in my life anymore. I don't have the opportunity to do the things that would feel right to me. I do, because I'm still doing it right now. I'm saying sorry to the person a million times, and I'm apologizing to myself, and I'm forgiving myself at the same time. So it's like all this stuff is going on, and it's like, but it's all energy, and it's like, it's all right to feel these things. We get so afraid of feeling these things that we try to push it away, and we try to be on autopilot. So we don't have to acknowledge or feel these things. We just resort back to old patterns. That's why we have experiences. It's for us to look at ourselves, because it helps us to move past. It helps me to open up. The blinders are not here anymore. The blinders are gone. So I'm able to see so much more. I'm able to see a bigger picture. I'm able to experience so much more. Even in the beginning of this conversation, I said I'm getting excited, but I feel excited. I haven't felt this way. I mean, I'm a person that's always been very controlled, and you would never see me jump up and down with excitement. Well, you guys probably should look out this year, because it's probably going to happen quite a few times. Because it's an emotion that once you're freed from your own restraints, that you can't contain it. You just can't. It just wants to explode from you. So it's an awesome, and I'm only telling you this because this is what I'm experiencing. This is how things are going so far. The more that I look at myself and look at myself as if I was a parent looking at a child, and not trying to punish that child, but looking at him and seeing myself in a bigger picture, allowing myself to grow.
While you were talking, what I was envisioning was, when you're on a merry-go-round, somebody else is pushing it.
Yeah.
Right?
You're not in control.
You're on it, you're hanging on, and somebody on the outside is pushing it. And so it's up to them how fast or how slow that merry-go-round goes. All tongue twisted here. So the power of the merry-go-round is in somebody else's control. It's not on yours. You're just on it. And then if it goes too fast, there's possibility that you're going to fall off of it because of the speed, the gravity, the pull, right? So you don't have any control over that. The only thing you have control over is how tight is your grip on the bars. When you're in a swing, you have complete control. You're swinging, you could go low, you could go high, you can slow down. When you go higher, you get to see a bigger picture. When you're lower, you see what's around you, right? So in a swing, there's more flow and control. In a merry-go-round, the control is in somebody else's hands.
It's true.
And even on the merry-go-round, if there's nobody on the outside to control it, and you're sitting on the merry-go-round, you get to choose. Do I stay here and just sit here and wait for somebody to come control this thing? Or do I get off and go do something else? So it's interesting when we put things in different perspective to understand what we are doing with our own life. And one of the things that we've talked about recently, I brought it up, I think a couple months ago, was I'm not saying if, I am a spirit and body. And am I living the life that my spirit intended to live by being in the space of all the lower vibrational emotions, meaning the anger, judgment, criticism, fear, shame, guilt, all that? Am I living up to, or am I bringing forth for my spirit the joy that it intended to have when it chose to come into a physical body? And for the first 40 years, the answer was absolutely, positively, no way in hell was I bringing the joy in a genuine fashion. Genuine meaning I wasn't laughing at somebody else's demise. They tripped and fell, laughed my ass off hysterically, and then asked if they were okay. Through sarcasm, putting people down, right? Genuine joy. Am I feeling it? Genuine joy is that relaxed space, that peaceful calmness, belly laughter that feels good. So this is something that I've been contemplating quite often is, am I bringing or living intentionally the life that my spirit of love and joy so much deserves? And if the answer is no, I got to check myself. And we just go back. It's a continuous going back into that internal inventory. What am I thinking? How am I feeling? What are my actions, behaviors, habits? And what am I talking about? So our conversations, for the most part, there's been a couple intense moments for me depending on the topic and what I'm talking about, but for the most part, I'm just calm and peaceful and embracing this conversation because I know that we are bringing forth information and wisdom for other people. I know that to be true because I've had people reach out to me. If Bev and I came on here and we were like, I watched a video yesterday, and it was about the politics and the intensity of what may be coming and the energy and the intenseness of the conversation and of the people's energy. It was interesting to listen to and observe. So just recognizing you can see it and feel it in other people, but for sure you need to know what your body feels like in every given waking moment. That is hyper awareness of yourself and your being. And I encourage the audience, myself, and of course, Bev and I are having these conversations, but we're having them for ourselves.
Yes.
But we know it's benefiting other people, that I am on a hyper awareness of, am I bringing joy to my spirit who is in this physical body? That is a major focus for me right now.
Because at the same time, it helps you to become closer with yourself. It helps you get to know yourself. Like all those things, it always amazed me how well I could know somebody else. I could know their movements. I could know their mannerisms. I knew when they were doing whatever they were doing because I was so in tune and so finely tuned to everything that they were doing. I knew exactly what was going on.
Because it was a mirror of yourself.
But I wasn't paying attention to myself. I wasn't looking at myself. And the thing is, when we say mirror of ourselves, if we're with someone that drinks or whatever, you have to kind of decipher, because it's not the mirroring is not the drinking, it's the behaviors. Mm-hmm. Just like it'd just be like saying, if you go get my truck right now is chaos inside of the truck, but I'm in the middle of chaos. I'm in the middle of moving a house of a relationship that we had for 27 years, and it does bring forth a chaos. It's not organized yet, so it's like that's a reflection of me, and that's how it's mirroring me. But people mirror us all the time, like I was saying, and it's like when you say mirroring, just because if you're with someone that's using drugs and you're so familiar with all their behaviors, how I would say finally tuned to like, oh, I know he's using right now. I can see it. I see you, you know, you're so in tune with every single detail of it, but you haven't given yourself that opportunity. You haven't gotten to know yourself so much, but you know the other person so well. And that mirroring isn't the abuse of whatever they're going through. It's a person that's probably an empathic person that's using to stop the flow of all this information so they're not bombarded, so they can just feel whatever they think is a normal. And we're doing the same thing, but it might be in a different way. Avoidance, right? When you're looking at everybody else, you're not looking at yourself. You're not paying attention to all this stuff, and you're so many things can become overwhelming when you're doing that. And I think that's because you're going against, like you were saying, are you doing what your soul really intended to do when you came here, what your spirit intended to do? And I think that you know by how you feel. If you feel unhappy and uncomfortable all the time, then you're not allowing that flow. You're not allowing yourself to be in that space where what your spirit intended to be as you were here, and that's in a space of joy. I heard one of a very close friend recently stating, which I have been stating this a lot in probably the last couple of years, like I would have happy moments, but they just didn't last for very long. But it's just but explore that more often. For me, it was just explore. It's all right if you're just having happy moments right now. Explore that more often, because now I'm in a place where I'm finding more things to be happy about. And that's like that whole advertising thing that you were saying, when we're speaking out loud, like even my words, even saying that I'm more happy right now is only bringing me into a more happy state. It's moving me forward. It's pulling me forward into that state. And then as we talk about it, we start getting more excited about things, because you start feeling it, you start noticing it. And it's just following that pattern. But be all right with, I'm only having happy moments. Don't look at it because when I looked at it before, I'd be like, oh, I only have happy moments sometimes. I don't want to live like that. I want to feel more. But it wasn't for me, because as soon as I did that, I was negating it. I was negating what I wanted in the first place. I had those happy moments, but now I'm negating it with not being happy. So it's following that path. It's like as soon as you start to notice those happy moments, try to celebrate them a little bit more. And at first it feels kind of foreign because you're not in the practice of doing it. But as you do it, like I was saying, I'm in an excited state now. I'm excited about life. And I wasn't like that before, but I didn't start from right here. What you're seeing right now is not where I began. I began a long time ago, and for me, I was like school hard knocks. I'm going to go through all this before I can get to my happy space. It doesn't have to be that way. Spend the time to focus on not in a way of lack. Oh, I only have happy moments sometimes, but in a way of joy. Like I've had happy moments. I've had lots of happy moments. And the more you start talking about that, it gives me goosebumps. But the more you start talking about that, it just builds more for you to be happy about. Like try that. And then feel that for a while. Maybe you don't maintain it the whole day, but if you practice it right now, if you start practicing it today, then you're already ahead of what your schedule was. You're already before 50, hopefully. And if you're not, there's nothing wrong with that either. Because maybe I am right where I'm supposed to be at. Maybe I'm supposed to be going through this growth right in front of your eyes, what I'm experiencing. So it helps. There's so many people right now that are so lost. They're scared, they're angry, they're whatever. They don't know what's next, but maybe this is what's next. Like slow down. Don't get wrapped up in stuff. Feel your feelings. When you're happy, focus on that. How many times, and of course, I was going to go the opposite direction and say the opposite side of that, but we don't need to do the opposite side. No, from this side, it's a happy space. And the more you talk about it, the more I talk about it, the more I feel it. Energy, the more I talk about it. Energy, the more I think about it. Energy, it's like your antenna is putting out we're like in tune to everything outside of yourself that's going to make you feel happy. Everything you're advertising, I want more happiness.
Or goodness. That's been my word.
Yeah, or I was going to say whatever it is, but it's the feeling. What feels good to you right now? I want more of that.
Absolutely. And earlier, Bev talked about how her truck is in chaos right now because she's in chaos. Is that an affirmation? Absolutely. But yeah. It's also an acknowledgement. This is where I'm at right now. Does it feel good or not? And that's what you can just ask yourself in any given moment. Does this feel good or not? How is my body responding when I say, I'm in chaos. Like I'm just like, ugh, like, ugh, right? My body tenses up and I pull back because it's like, ooh. Um, but saying it out loud, and a lot of times I have to say things out loud, no matter how ugly they are. A lot of times it's just me by myself, but I have to say it out loud so I can really hear what have been processing in my thoughts. So then once I say it out loud, then I go, oh, okay. And I'll just use Bev as an example with her truck. My truck is in chaos right now because I'm in chaos because da 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 da. I have these things going on. Okay. Does this feel good? Well, probably the answer is going to be no. I'm just going to answer that for her. No. And so, okay, well, what can I do to shift this energy so I feel good? It could be her perception about the transition of her loved one. It could be about new beginnings because one chapter has ended, a new chapter is beginning. It could be perception of abundance, like, wow, look at all this stuff we had together and all the abundance that I maybe took my attention off of. And it's so wonderful to know that I have all this abundance. And now I can keep some of it, or I can share it with other people and give it away, or I could bring in more abundance through prosperity by selling it. So it's a changing of perception so she can get herself in a space of feeling better. So yes, when you're saying something negative about yourself, absolutely you're affirming it, but you're also acknowledging it. Once it becomes an acknowledgement, then the choice is, do I stay in this uncomfortable space or do I do something different to move in a direction that feels good? And then discerning for yourself, how can you change your perception so that you start moving in a direction that feels good? The underlying story we all have carried is, I'm not good enough. So Bev could absolutely stay in the space of, my truck's chaos because my life is chaos because I suck because I can't get anything right, and just go down that avenue of just putting herself down, getting into and closer to depression or anger or whatever it might be, being very judgmental and critical about ourselves. But that she knows, like she knows, like she knows, that does not feel good. And if you need a support system, then check your connections, your relationships. Because we've talked about this before, you are the average of the 5 people you hang around the most. So if you know that the people that you are hanging around the most are not in a space to help hold space for you or support you or encourage you to move in a direction that feels good, then it's time to find a different circle. And that's what last year was a big piece of, was community and coming together and supporting each other in a way that is more uplifting than damaging. And in a lot of ways, we didn't do so good with that. A lot of ways we did not do good with that on a global basis. Now you may have in smaller circles, and that's absolutely amazing because we want to create more of that energy, but be aware of your relationships. If your relationships, your conversations with these people do not feel good, it's time to get a new circle. And the way you do that is not to just say, oh, I can't hang out with you anymore. It's going within and start changing yourself. You will attract the type of people that you are resonating with. So telling yourself a new story. I attract amazing, uplifting, supporting people. I attract fun and exhilarating people. I attract adventurous people. Whatever that story is, create a new story so that you can start bringing those types of people to you. And that's huge when you are in the space of wanting to make the changes within yourself, because you're it may seem difficult for you to make changes and still be around the same people. That is a huge indicator for you of your beingness, is the people that are around you. And it's not good or bad. It's not saying that they're wrong and you're right, or that you're wrong and they're right. It has nothing to do with that. It's based on you looking at yourself to decide, do I want to be the average of these 5 people I'm hanging around? Because it doesn't feel good. So in my experience is I am moving in a direction of having a prosperous business. That means I surround me with people and have a support system that includes people who are already having successful, prosperous businesses. Not hanging out with my broke friends who can't pay the bills, who are struggling, who thinks money is evil. It's not going to work. So I have to change my story to be around people who are on that path already, because they're shining a light for me to follow that path. It's not going to be the exact path, because there are many types of businesses. It's the energy of the prosperity. It's also changing my story about money. It's also changing my story about my worthiness and deserving. It is all about me changing me and my focus. So this affects all facets of your life. But nothing can change. Nothing can change until you change.
And as you're going through those changes too, like you were saying, your groups change, people kind of fall away. It's not, in my experience, I would say almost, there has been several people that have kind of fallen away. There was a situation, and one that was like preposterous to me, how it happened, but it's like it wasn't, from the bigger picture, it was just that we were no longer a match with each other. I'm growing and moving forward and I'm in a more positive space, and just I'm different, and then this other person doesn't change at all. You might find that there's just a person that doesn't change, and you can't teach an old dog new tricks kind of mentality, or even statements that they've stated out in front of you, and then again talking about money and all that other stuff, or you can never do this without me, or stuff, those kind of conversations. But you don't have to react to it. You just kind of notice. You just, it kind of, what happens, you're like, kind of catches you up, like, did you just say that? Like, your mind's like, did this really just happen just now? And that person just falls away. It's easy. And it's not something that you go looking to do, because you're working on you. You're not working on changing outside stuff. You're working on changing the inside stuff, because the outside stuff automatically changes. It just does. And like, even talking about my truck, I'm also into a place where I'm easy on myself. It's not like the end of the world. And I know I'm in the middle of moving a lot of things. So be easy on yourself. Mm-hmm. I know that I'm like in a transition phase as far as that goes. So I understand why there's stuff going on around me, but I also understand that I can make it, make is like a power word. I can choose it to be a little bit different than how it has been, for sure.
So I gotta interrupt you real quick, because she said she's in a transition, right? So yeah. It is chaotic, okay? That is what is happening with our nation. We are in transitions, so there is chaos.
There is, and it's all right. It's all right.
Yes.
Don't put so much energy into it, so I don't. I just see this, and I know this is kind of where, because I've got different stuff that I'm moving back and forth, and constantly, or doing other things. But it's like, it's all right. For me, it's all right. I'm not putting energy into it. So I acknowledge it, but I also recognize when you had said that stuff, it wasn't all about me. You were using it as an example, but then I felt almost like I wanted to like defend myself a little bit. like that wasn't it. And then I wait, and then I'm like, in my mind, I'm like, okay, so if I'm defending that, I'm defending and keeping myself in the same space if I choose to argue for my limitations. Because when you're defending, you're arguing for. And
Mhm.
that's what I was acknowledging. I'm getting goosebumps, of course, from this. You're like, that's right, man. You
Yay,
finally
Bev.
figured it out. But no, but it's also being all right. Acknowledging, looking at your vehicle and knowing it, and it's one of the things I will be taking care of. It's a thing that is going to be handled. I'm trying to find the right words because those don't feel that are not sitting right with me. I'm in my transition, so everything's getting handled. It's just in an orderly fashion. So I'm doing things in an orderly fashion right now.
And that's
Just for
great
the
because
best.
you're not taking the chaos from the house and then putting
Yeah.
it in your truck and then taking that pile and throwing it in your house somewhere and letting it pile up and then go
Yeah.
through it later when I feel like it, right?
Yeah.
Or I have
Yeah.
time. Yeah, you're saying, okay, well, I've moved it from here and now it's in my vehicle. And so as I clear this, I'm clearing my energy. I'm doing some healing with
Oh,
each piece
yes.
that I, pick up and look at and feel and touch, right? So, so being aware of the process of how you're going about it.
It's true. It's true. And
Yeah.
and acknowledging all of it. And it's like, and not for me, like even clearing out the house, I'm taking 2 months. Like the first month, that was just a lot of grieving and not, just whatever. But this, I mean, I'm getting more stuff is just, it's just all working out. It's working out perfectly. But you and I have had conversations. One of the conversations was, this is where it's very helpful to have good people, and it's everybody's good, but people that help uplift you or help you to see something else what you have. Because I was telling you, it's so, I was, and I don't even like talking about it because it's like I don't feel this way anymore, but it's so hard to go into that house and start going through this, that I start feeling all these things, that I can only be there for so long, and then I'm like overflowing with such grief and emotion that I can't be in that space anymore. I have to get away, and then I'm crying all the way out to the house and stuff like that. So it's like, but I talked to you about it, and one of the things that you had told me was, and I know these things. I know these things. I know, like I know, like I know. But when we get wrapped up into these emotions and stuff, sometimes that's when our blinders come on. We're struggling to see beyond this. And it's not, don't be hard on yourself, but sometimes you need to rely on someone else. Maybe not even need to rely. It's nice to pass the story over to somebody else and then get their interpretation of it, because your interpretation of it was, you can set your intentions. You can call on Archangel Michael. My card for the beginning for this year, this month, is Archangel Michael. So it's like, I have been calling on Archangel Michael. It was a good reminder because I have relied on him a lot in the past, and I hadn't for a long time. But it's going into that space, and now when I go in there and think I'm just handling like a space at a time or a room at a time, just and just going through it. And I would say most of it I am doing by myself. And I will tell you that it is a healing process, because I'm going within each thing that I'm handling right there. I'm seeing it. It's almost like watching a movie. You're like seeing these instances, and it's like, oh my God, I was such an asshole. Like, why was I such an asshole? And it's like I could justify and say I was feeling that person's energy. Well, yeah, sure you were, but I got to be responsible for me. So why was I feeling that way? Because it was just mirroring me. It's been such, someone else could look at it and think, oh my God, how horrible. No, it's freaking awesome. Because imagine walking around carrying all these extra weights on you all the time. I don't need to. It's not even necessary. So, like, all the passing of someone is such a huge opportunity. That's why I tell people all the time that there's not a loss. A loss would be, the person passing or transitioning and not leaving anything behind. There's so much learning from all this. There is so much to gain from all this. It is such a huge gain. And then now I have the opportunity to see all the gains that I had even during the lifetime that we shared together. So it's like it's an awesome thing. It's an emotional journey, but it's us getting, maybe that's just us getting in touch with our own emotions. Maybe that was the only way I could actually get not intact, in touch, I guess would probably be the best term, with those emotions that I had been stuffing my whole life. I didn't know how to deal with these things. I didn't know how to feel these things. And now, because of the person that I was with, and how amazing he was beyond the surfacey crap that I was focused on, what it helps me, it helped develop me. It helps me to see me. It's been a freaking wonderful, it's been a wonderful journey. Wonderful, actually.
I love that explanation. I just really felt good that um, it was almost, and in just, I guess, I don't know, a statement or kind of a question. It was almost like the 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 loss, if you will, of his physical being was also the loss of what you knew of yourself in that relationship.
Mm-hmm.
And there was a grieving of him not being here physically, but there was a grieving of the transition of you,
Absolutely.
right? Because
Absolutely.
a lot of times, a lot of times the reason for grief, and I mean, this is like across the board, we grieve the loss of someone because we feel like we didn't do enough for that
Mm-hmm.
relationship. I mean, we see those kind of posts on social media. Don't grieve my loss if you're not connected with me now. So, in other words, if you're not picking up the phone and calling me to see how I'm doing or checking in with me, if you're not sending me a card, if you're not, having some kind of regular communication with me, don't be upset when I'm not here physically because we didn't have that connection anyway.
Yeah.
What the grieving part is for most people is guilt. The guilt that I did not give enough to that relationship and now I never will. So the I'm sorries, the forgiveness, the patching up arguments, those types of things is what we're grieving. And
But
how
there
many
is still
times?
resolve. Yeah.
Say that again.
There is still resolve. I mean, even after they pass, there's resolution. Even
There,
after they pass, there's still growth.
but
Typically.
we still can communicate with them spiritually. There's just spirit, their energy, and they hear us when we say I'm sorry, or we're crying, or we're saying, please forgive me, all those things. They hear that, but what is upsetting to us because we're physical is we're not getting that physical reciprocation, that verbal reciprocation. So we think that it's unresolved as a physical person, but really, once a person transitions, all of that is resolved for them. They're over it. They're done with it. They're like, think about a little kid who goes to the circus, man. Their eyes get really big and they're excited and they're laughing and they're squealing and they're excited about the all the goodies, the candy, and the rides, right? That that's where they're at. That's where their energy is. That's that vibration that they're at. We're here in this physical body, carrying the guilt, carrying the shame, carrying the sadness. But what we're doing is this death to me is a huge opportunity to go within. Because if you are carrying guilt about a relationship that you feel is unresolved on your behalf, then it's time, if you have any other relationships that you want to improve or resolve any discrepancies, then do it now. And this is something else that I live by, is like when I see or talk to someone, am I contributing to them feeling better than when they approached me or came into my space? Am I helping them feel like it's not my job to do it? And it's for sure their allowing of me to contribute to them feeling better. As long as I am doing my part, I feel good about that. So if they were to leave my house and I would never see them again, I knew I did what I could to contribute to their joy. Having arguments and being disgruntled and yelling at each other. Like, that doesn't feel good. And that's not the space I for sure want to be in, because that is not bringing joy to my spirit. And if it's not bringing joy to my spirit, definitely not going to bring joy to anybody else's spirit that's in my vicinity. So being aware that you're doing what you can to make that relationship better in whatever way you can, that feels good. And then there may be a moment of sadness because the person's not here physically, but you're not carrying the guilt because you did what you could to better that relationship. And if it's somebody who you know is not somebody you want to hang around with, or there's the old teaching old dogs new tricks mentality type of people, or people who are just angry all the time, if there's no way to make that relationship better, then one thing you can do is every time you think of that person, just say a prayer. Send love to them. See them happy, right? Hold a vision for them and contribute that way. That way, you're not holding on to any negative emotion within yourself regarding that person. So it doesn't mean you have to talk to like if you had an abuser, you're not going to pick up the phone and call them or go to lunch with them or anything and try and say, I forgive you and all this other stuff. No, I'm not telling you to do that. I'm telling you to say a prayer, keep your distance, say a prayer, hold a vision that they will find joy in their life or see them happy, seeing good things happening for them, seeing miracles happening for them. Do your part in that way. That feels good to you, but also keeping you safe.
Yes. Don't be afraid. Death is only beginnings. Death is only beginnings. And it's like, even all the stuff that I've gone through, if that's the death of myself, my old self, which it is, because it's no longer that person anymore, it's all right to go through that process. It's because it reveals so much to you. It reveals so much about you to you, and that you don't have to carry it with you any longer. It's resolved. And like you said, they're happy where they're at. They're elated and joyful and love everybody and everything. But like when you start feeling these things, like look at the things that you're feeling and like get to the bottom of it. Ask yourself questions, because I'm telling you, that's what I've been doing. I've been moving through a lot of the stuff. God, I just feel like I've moved through so much stuff recently, really. And it gets lighter and lighter. It does, but it gets lighter. The grief doesn't feel as heavy. And it's because like I'm forgiving, and I'm forgiving myself, and I'm acknowledging my part in things, and also the part of, I've already acknowledged a lot of the part of the other person, but now I'm seeing it, the difference, how it really is. But all it is like you think about the phoenix. The phoenix burns up at the end and then is born again. So basically all that's happening to me is I'm just being born again. When you're going through these transitions, our United States is being born again. Our world is being born again. And birth is not always easy, not for everybody. For some it's easier, but it depends on what was your preparation. You can have a mom that's like so joyful and so happy and like knows this is going to be an easy delivery, knows this is going to be an easy transition, from this baby coming from your body. It's like they just know. And then you've got others that are fighting it the whole way, or worried or scared, and it's like then it just feels different. It's like paying attention to that if we want to use birthing as a catalyst right now for a lot of the stuff that's going on. But really that's what's happening. And it's interesting always to me when there's a death of the old, how the new starts and how it looks. And it's change. It's change, and change is okay, which we've talked about over and over and over again. But just to reiterate to you, change is good. Change is good. The change of the seasons helps with plants grow and trees grow and flowers, and I mean all of it. Life is a wonderful thing if you choose to look at it that way.
Absolutely. And I think that is a great space to leave it. Say it again.
I don't even remember what I said. I'm just bringing forward information.
Life is a wonderful thing if you choose to see it that way.
Yeah, it is. See, I told you I keep asking for the angels and stuff to flow on through. So it's like, help me bring the messages forward that people need to hear. So
Well, that's a great message to leave our audience with for this week. And we, of course, value your time. We intend to bring information that's going to be beneficial for your journey, and for us to know more of if this is helping you, or even if you have questions or even comments that maybe you want clarity about, then leave us some comments. That is the best way to let us know how these videos have been affecting your life. And or you can email us at it's Amie, AMIE, and spelled out AND Bev, BEV, at gmail.com, Amie and Bev at gmail.com. Or you can join us in the Facebook page. We have a business page. It's Amie and Bev. And then we also have a group, Facebook group. It's Amie and Bev Community. So reach out to us. Let us know how these videos are helping you or not helping you. Maybe they're not helping you and you think we're just two crazy ladies showing up every week, which it could be true. I don't know. It's about your perception.
that's right.
We feel like we're bringing the wisdom. But yeah, and then if there's anyone that you feel would benefit from the information, then please share it, because there are so many people that they're in a space that it's time for them to hear these words. So with that, we want to thank you for being here with us and taking the time to listen. And Tea Time with Amie and Bev, we'll be back next week.
Yep. Have a joy-filled week.
Take care. We'll see you later.
Bye.